Hello everyone, I am Dr. Chiranjeevi, Associate Consultant, Emergency Department, Max Hospital, Vaishali. Today is the fourth episode of the trauma series, which is penetrating chest trauma. In the last episode, most of the thoracic trauma injuries were covered by Dr. Ritu, which was blunt trauma chest. I won't go much only into the penetrating trauma, but try to revision sort of the thoracic trauma, which usually occurs and managed by the emergency physician and dedicated trauma surgery team. So the today topic is penetrating thoracic injuries. As we all know, the blunt thoracic trauma produces damage by direct injury, compression, and forces of acceleration or deceleration, whereas penetrating thoracic trauma causes direct injury along the path of a stab wound or projectile, like gunshot wounds and knives. It is a significant cause of mortality, but in the hospital, deaths can be prevented by the prompt diagnosis and treatment. Injuries most often involve the lungs and less frequently the heart and great vessels. Regardless of the mechanism, stabilization and treatment of these patients follow a similar pathway. In general, patients with penetrating injuries who survive to reach the hospital have better outcome than those who have sustained blunted trauma. Mortality from penetrating cardiac injuries is approximate around 40%. Only 15 to 30% of penetrating chest injuries require operative intervention. Coming to the physiological consequences of the penetrating chest trauma, it includes like hypoxia, hypocarbia, acidosis. Hypoxia is mainly caused because of the contusion, hematoma, and alveolar collapse or the changes in the intrathoracic pressure, which are seen in general like tension pneumothorax and open pneumothorax, which causes hypoxia and leads to metabolic acidosis. And hypercarbia leads to the respiratory acidosis. Coming to the primary survey, as in all trauma patients, the primary survey of the patients with thoracic injuries begins with the airway, followed by breathing and then circulation. Major problems should be corrected as they are identified. The first thing of the primary survey is the airway. In the airway, we face airway obstruction, tracheobronchial tree injuries, the airway problems. As in all trauma patients, airway obstruction results from the swelling, bleeding, or vomitus that is aspirated into the airway. Penetrating trauma involving the neck or chest can result in injury and bleeding, which produces obstruction. During the primary survey, look for the evidence of the air hunger, such as intercostal or supraclavicular muscle retractions, or listen for the evidence of partial airway obstruction or marked change in expected voice quality in the patients who are able to speak, or any foreign body obstruction in the oropharynx. Immediate treatment may require the placement of definitive airway. Coming to the tracheobronchial tree injuries, injury to the trachea or a major bronchus, injury to the trachea or major bronchus is an unusual but potentially fatal condition. These injuries can be severe and the majority of the patients die at the scene. Those who reach the hospital alive have high mortality rate. Coming to the breathing problems. The breathing problems include tension pneumothorax, open pneumothorax, and massive pneumothorax. It is an imperative for clinicians to recognize and manage these injuries during the primary survey. During the primary survey, completely expose the patient chest and neck to allow for the assessment of neck veins and breathing. Look at the chest wall to assess the air entry, assess movement and determine whether it is equal. Listen to the chest to evaluate for the equal breath sounds and identify any extra sounds that may indicate effusion or contusion. palpate to determine if there is any areas of tenderness, cryptus, or defects. Coming to the problems of the breathing difficulty, the first one is the tension pneumothorax, which is the major cause of the cardiac arrest in the patients of the blunt in the chest trauma injuries. Tension pneumothorax develops when a one-way walled air leak occurs from lung or through the chest wall. Diagnosing and treat tension pneumothorax clinically before the chest radiography is obtained. Although the classical presentation includes distended neck veins, hypotension, or evidence of hypoperfusion, diminished or absent breath sounds on the affected side, and tracheal deviation to the opposite side, one or more of these elements may absent in presence of hypovolemia. Perform immediate needle decompression usually in the fifth intercostal space at the anterior to the mid-axillary line, followed by the chest tube insertion. Needle depression converts the tension pneumothorax into the open pneumothorax, and the needle compression is only a temporizing measure and should be followed promptly with tube thoracostomy. If the patient's hemodynamics fail to improve following decompression, consider other causes of hypoperfusion, such as pericardial tamponade. Pneumothorax after a stab wound may be delayed for up to 6 hours. Consequently, repeat chest imaging in 4 to 6 hours is indicated in these patients or at any time when symptom worsens. Coming to the open pneumothorax, air entry and breath sounds are often diminished on the affected side, and chest wall motion can be impaired. The initial therapeutic maneuver to treat a sucking chest wound is to cover the wound with a 3-side dressing such that air can exit but not enter the chest. Avoid complete occlusion, as this may convert the injury into a tension pneumothorax. And the main thing is, do not insert a chest tube through the trauma wound, as it is likely follow the micellar knife tract into the lung or diaphragm. Coming to the difference between the tension pneumothorax and open pneumothorax. In the tension pneumothorax, you will observe decreased or absent breath sounds. In the open pneumothorax, you will observe decreased breath sound. While doing percussion, you will observe hyperresonance in tension pneumothorax and dull in open pneumothorax. The tracheal position is deviated to the opposite side in tension pneumothorax, but the trachea is in the midline position in open pneumothorax. The neck veins are distended in tension pneumothorax, and in the open pneumothorax is collapsed. The chest movements are expanded and immobile in tension pneumothorax, but is mobile in open pneumothorax. This is the 3-way dressing we are discussing that to be done in the open pneumothorax, and we cover only the 3 sides. And coming to massive hemothorax. First, the bleeding from direct lung injury is the most common cause of hemothorax. Fluid collection greater than 200 to 300 ml can usually seen in the X-ray chest radiographs. However, sometimes the patient is in the supine position, if greater than 1000 ml blood may be missed due to the posterior laying of the blood, producing only diffuse haziness in the X-ray. EFAST may be used in critically ill patient to detect hemothorax, but the CT has a high sensitivity and specificity for detecting hemothorax. A massive hemothorax is defined in the adult as a volume of at least 1500 ml. Massive hemothorax is a life-threatening because of the acute hypovolemia and the hypoxia caused because of this collapsed lung and the compression of the vena cava by the hydrostatic pressure of hemothorax. Although the clinical signs and symptoms of hemothorax in the chest trauma patient can vary, suggesting findings include decreased or absent breath sounds and no chest movement with respiratory effect. Fewer than 5% of patients with massive will require operative management. Consider surgical exploration in the following circumstances, such as if there is a greater than 1500 ml of blood is evacuated immediately after tube thoracostomy, chest tube drainage of 150 ml to 200 ml of blood for 2 to 4 hours continuously, or persistent blood transfusion is required to maintain hemodynamic stability. and the circulatory problems in the penetrating chest trauma. The major thoracic is like major thoracic injuries that affect circulation and should be recognized and addressed during the primary survey are massive pneumothorax, cardiac tamponade, and traumatic circulatory arrest. Inspect the skin for mottling, cyanosis, and pallor. Neck veins should be assessed for distension, although they may not be distended in the patients with concomitant hypovolemia. Assess a central pulse for quality, rate, and regularity. In patients with hypovolemia, the distal pulses may be absent because of volume depletion. Palpate the skin to assess the temperature and determine whether it is dry or sweaty. Measure blood pressure and pulse pressure and monitor patient with ECG and pulse oximetry. As massive pneumothorax is already discussed in the above slides. Coming to the cardiac tamponade, which is again one of the leading cause of the cardiac arrest in chest trauma. Cardiac tamponade, which is characterized by the accumulation of pericardial fluid under pressure, can be found in up to 2% of penetrating trauma to thoracoabdominal region and very rare in blunt trauma. Up to 80% of myocardial stab wounds may develop cardiac tamponade. The classical clinic triad of muffled heart sounds, hypotension, distended veins is not uniformly present with cardiac tamponade. Tension pneumothorax, particularly on the left side, sometimes can mimic cardiac tamponade. Because of similarity in the signs, tension pneumothorax can be initially confused with cardiac tamponade. The presence of hyperrenosance on the percussion indicates the tension pneumothorax, whereas the presence of the bilateral breath sounds indicates cardiac tamponade. FAST is a rapid and accurate method of imaging the heart and pericardium that can effectively identify cardiac tamponade. When pericardial fluid or tamponade is diagnosed, emergency thoracotomy or sternotomy should be performed by a qualified surgeon as soon as possible. If surgical intervention is not possible, pericardiocentesis can be therapeutic, but it does not definitive treatment for cardiac tamponade. After discussing the primary survey, we are coming to the and rectifying all the things. Now we are coming to the secondary survey. The secondary survey of the patients with thoracic trauma involves further in-depth of physical examination and ongoing ECG and pulse oximetry monitoring, ABG, and other chest X-ray in patients without suspected spinal column instability. In addition to the lung expansion and fluid resuscitation, the chest film should be reviewed for widening of mediastinum, shift of midline, and loss of anatomical detail. Multiple rib fractures and fractures of first and second suggest that a significant force was developed to the chest and underlying tissues. Extended FAST has been used to detect both the pneumothorax and hemothorax. The following 8 potential lethal injuries should be identified and managed during the secondary survey, such as simple pneumothorax, hemothorax, flail chest, blunt cardiac injury, pulmonary contusion, traumatic aortic disruption, and traumatic diaphragmatic injury, and blunt esophageal rupture. Identifying of the potential life-threatening injuries by mainly FAST survey. A flail chest. Coming to the flail chest occurs when a segment of chest wall does not have the bony continuity with the rest of the thoracic cage. This condition usually results from the trauma-associated multiple rib fractures. Observation of abnormal respiration, motion, and palpitation of the crepitus from the rib or cartilage fractures can aid the diagnosis. Like the image shows, there is a rib fracture which and pulmonary contusion. A pulmonary contusion is a bruise of the lung caused by the thoracic trauma. Blood and any other fluid accumulates in the lung tissue, interfering with ventilation and potential leading to hypoxia. Definitive treatment of flail chest and pulmonary contusion involves ensuring adequate oxygenation, administration fluids, and providing analgesia to improve ventilation. Consideration for the early ventilator assistance and after thoracic trauma, which mainly includes such as altered mental status, hypovolemic shock, multiple injuries, multiple blood transfusion, and elderly patient pre-existing pulmonary disease, and the respiratory rate greater than 30 to 35 breaths per minute, vital capacity less than 10 to 15 ml per kg, and negative inspiratory force less than 25 to 30 centimeters H2O. Coming to this is the needle compression which is mentioned during tension pneumothorax, and another is the thoracostomy. Performing the tube thoracostomy for the treatment of traumatic pneumothorax or hemothorax is in the anterior axillary line at the level of the nipple in the man or inframammary release in the woman, just behind the lateral edge of the pectoralis. Thank you, everyone.